There's a moment, usually late at night, when the world is quiet and still, when the streets outside have gone dark, and the notifications have stopped buzzing. For most people, this is a time for rest. But for the overthinker, it's a battlefield. The silence doesn't bring peace, it amplifies everything. Every conversation from earlier in the day replays, dissected for tone and meaning. Every decision is relived and reconsidered. Every unspoken word becomes a ghost that haunts. The brain, instead of winding down, revs up. It loops, cycles, questions, analyzes, and reanalyzes. While the rest of the world is asleep, the overthinker is wide awake in a world entirely of their own making. Overthinking is not simply thinking too much. It's thinking in layers. It's living every moment twice, once when it happens and again in reflection, only the second time it's heavier, foggier, more uncertain. It's trying to control outcomes in a universe that rarely offers guarantees. It's attempting to gain clarity through thought, only to end up more lost. At its core, overthinking is a form of self-protection. If you can anticipate every outcome, maybe you can avoid pain. If you can read between the lines perfectly, maybe you'll never be caught off guard. It's a survival strategy dressed up as intelligence. But the cost is high: exhaustion, indecision, and the constant hum of anxiety. Peace feels foreign not because it's unattainable, but because the overthinker doesn't trust it. Stillness can feel like negligence. Quiet can feel like vulnerability. If you're not thinking, aren't you missing something? Aren't you being careless? Overthinkers are often deeply empathetic. They notice micro-expressions. They remember the exact wording of a passing comment. They sense tension in a room before anyone speaks. This sensitivity is a gift, but it can also become a curse when the mind refuses to filter or let go. Many overthinkers are also perfectionists. They set impossible standards for themselves: how they speak, how they look, how they perform, how they make others feel. Every interaction becomes a test they believe they're failing. They relive moments not because they want to suffer, but because they're trying to figure out how to do better. The irony is, this relentless striving often leads to burnout and paralysis. Overthinking hijacks presence. The mind is constantly either in the past, analyzing what went wrong, or in the future, trying to prevent what might. Rarely is it here, in the now, where life actually happens. Even joyful moments can be tainted by thoughts like, what if this doesn't last, or, am I appreciating this enough? Peace requires surrender, a terrifying concept for someone used to control. It means accepting that not every question has an answer. That not every fear can be neutralized with logic. That not everything needs to be understood before it can be lived. One of the cruelest aspects of overthinking is that it often masquerades as wisdom. You seem introspective, reflective, cautious. But in reality, you might just be stuck. Analysis becomes avoidance. Insight becomes inertia. Understanding becomes overcomplication. The path to peace for an overthinker isn't through more thinking, it's through feeling. Through being. Through learning to coexist with uncertainty. It's not about silencing the mind entirely, but about loosening its grip. Making room for breath. For imperfection. For grace. It often begins with self-compassion. To recognize that you overthink not because you're broken, but because you care. Because your mind is trying to protect you the only way it knows how. Peace begins not with a solution, but with softness. Overthinkers need spaces where they can exist without performance. People who don't demand simplicity. Moments where they don't have to explain themselves. They don't need fixing, they need understanding. Connection. Trust. And maybe, just maybe, a reminder that peace is not something you earn by solving every problem. It's something you can touch, however briefly, when you let go of the need to solve anything at all. The mind may never fully quiet, but the heart, when held gently, remembers how to rest. So if you are someone who lies awake at night replaying every word, every look, every possibility, know this: you're not alone. Your mind is a masterpiece, even when it hurts. And within that whirlwind of thought, there is also deep beauty, deep care, and the potential, yes, even for you, to find peace. But let's go deeper. Because this isn't just about a restless mind. It's about a restless identity. Many overthinkers don't just overanalyze events, they overanalyze themselves. Who they are. How they're perceived. Whether they're good enough, lovable enough, smart enough, productive enough. Self-worth becomes entangled with perfection. And perfection is the enemy of peace. Overthinking often begins in childhood. Maybe you were the sensitive kid. The one who noticed when others were upset. The one who read the room before walking in. Maybe you learned to predict behavior in order to stay safe, emotionally or physically. That ability, once a defense mechanism, grew stronger with age. But so did the fear of getting things wrong. And so the thinking never stopped. Because somewhere deep inside, it felt like your safety depended on it. Overthinkers often live in duality, outwardly competent, inwardly chaotic. Friends might call you wise, thoughtful, measured. But behind the scenes, your mind is a storm. You second-guess your messages. You worry that silence means rejection. You replay every goodbye like it might be the last. This chronic mental overactivity creates fatigue. Not just mental exhaustion, but physical. The body responds to the mind's turmoil. Muscles tighten. Sleep becomes shallow. The nervous system lives in a low-grade fight or flight state. You're not running from a tiger, but your brain thinks you are. You might try to meditate. To breathe deeply. But even that becomes a task your brain wants to get right. The overthinker turns peace into performance. And in doing so, loses the very thing they seek. The truth is, peace isn't always quiet. Sometimes, it's messy. Sometimes, it's sitting in discomfort without needing to label or fix it. Sometimes, peace is allowing a thought to pass through you without catching it, interrogating it, or building a life around it. Relationships can be particularly triggering for overthinkers. One ambiguous text can spiral into a dozen interpretations. Silence becomes a void the brain rushes to fill. The desire for connection clashes with the fear of vulnerability. So you hold back, analyze, pretend, withdraw. Not because you don't care, but because you care so deeply it paralyzes you. Many overthinkers are creatives. Artists. Writers. Philosophers. People who see what others miss. Who feel what others dismiss. And that sensitivity is sacred. But it needs care. It needs boundaries. It needs moments of enough. You won't think your way into peace. You'll feel your way into it. Through presence. Through embodiment. Through small moments of letting go. Through choosing not to chase every thought. Through remembering that life isn't a puzzle to solve, it's an experience to live. And yes, it will take practice. It will feel unnatural at first. But over time, your mind will learn that it doesn't always need to be on guard. That you can be safe, even in uncertainty. That not everything needs to be predicted, understood, or explained. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness beneath them. The stillness behind the noise. The calm at the center of the storm. And when you remember that, when you come home to that knowing, you'll discover a kind of peace that no thought can give you, and no thought can take away.